There's one thing that's been missing from the debate over whether President Joe Biden should drop out of the race to defeat Donald Trump, and it's the most important thing. This is a short video clip from the Beyond Politics podcast with me, former Democratic Congressman Paul Hodes, who was Barack Obama's 2008 national co-chairman, and Republican political consultant Alicia Preston. I explain why people shouldn't be asking whether Biden should drop out and what Democrats should do immediately to give the best chance of beating Trump and saving America. My whole thesis is people asking should Biden drop out or not are asking the wrong question. Because if you envision a future where, oh no, we're the Democratic Party and we're not organized on anything at all, and we're going to have a counterproductive melee, and then some people's feelings are going to be irrevocably hurt because their preferred candidate, which could very much include the vice president, is not selected, and that's going to fracture the Democratic base and it's going to ensure Donald Trump's election. People envisioning that scenario could be right. And people saying, oh, no, if we just put up any sentient, reasonable human being against this convicted con man, we'll be clearly victorious. They could be right. It's all about the could, right? Both of those things could happen. The right question to ask is, how should President Biden withdraw in a way that maximizes the chances of beating Donald Trump? Not all of these approaches are created equal. If you tell me that there is a plan, a rational plan for doing this, and the objective is in 7 weeks, the Democrats have a candidate that can unify their base, that can appeal to swing voters, and can beat Donald Trump, and there's a rational way to get there, then I'm going to respond to you, great, let's do that. But if you're just saying he's got to drop out and we got to let the convention sort it out, then I'm not so convinced that we're better off. The onus is on people calling for a dropout to explain to me what their plan is. What I'm doing is suggesting here's a 5-step plan for how the Democrats could do this in a way that would result in beating Donald Trump. The very first step is, before they announce anything else, they need to announce that Barack Obama is taking over as temporary chairman of the DNC and chairman of the National Convention. He's the only person with unimpeachable credibility within the Democratic Party to unify people and to give the assurance that everything is on the up and they're trying to select a nominee with the only objective being to beat Donald Trump and not to play to this faction or that faction. And look, I'm just going to say the quiet part out loud. If the result is you do not end up with Vice President Harris and you're going to step over an African-American woman, and the core constituency of the Democratic Party is African-American women, if you're going to do that, then you need to have the transparency and the credibility of the first African-American president to be able to explain that to our core base voters and to try to soothe some of the justifiable hurt feelings that would engender. I put the challenge out to the Democratic Party. Don't keep howling about, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. Don't tell me what we're going to do. Tell me how we're going to do it first.
Here's a few things. I do think the path for Joe Biden, not that I ever want to be the one promoting a Democrat to win, except that it's against Donald Trump. I do think it's Kamala Harris, and I think they have to do it yesterday. And I actually think your idea about Barack Obama, Matt, is quite brilliant. I think the Barack Obama idea actually is a great idea. He is a uniter of not only the Democrats, but he obviously had a lot of support from kind of left-leaning independents, and people liked him. I was not one of them. I certainly did not vote for him, and I hate Obamacare. But he is still a very popular figure in American politics. I think that's a very wise idea. I think Joe Biden should say, my runway is coming to an end. Here is my heir apparent. I will release my delegates. I hope all my delegates go to Kamala Harris. And the Democrats, I can't imagine too many Democrats of name would come out and be like, no, I'm going to fight for those delegates at the convention in August. I think that is the path to victory for you.
Thank you for the kudos on my first plank of my 5-step plan. I don't want to give away my entire article. I already suggested in my Newsweek article last week a little bit of the answer to the question of how do you deal with the Kamala Harris challenge if indeed that is not the replacement selection. So let me just give a little bit more on that. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that I'm going to use a double negative here. Don't use no double negatives in general, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that you can't skip over Kamala Harris. The reason is that the Democratic Party has already done that. The Democratic Party did that in the South Carolina primary 4 years ago with the assist of Jim Clyburn, who we had on Beyond Politics to explain his support for Joe Biden, his selection. Again, this comes back not to do you do it, do you not do it? Explain to me how you do it. I think that there is a way to do it that takes the sting out of it. And the way to do it is to have a process where voters, where party activists, members of the Democratic Party get to weigh in and have their voice heard and make a transparent public selection. There's been some discussion of having flash primaries. I don't think that's logistically possible. What I do think is logistically possible is to hold state conventions of Democratic Party activists in the time. You're going to have 6 weeks from the time this airs till the national convention starts. So do mini conventions. If you don't think you can do 50 state conventions, do 5 regional conventions that bring together the state party delegations from the various states. Have them vote. These are not binding votes, but the key is they're transparent. They show the American public that the Democratic Party is voting and that grassroots members of the party have a voice. If their selection in these state contests, in these conventions, if their selection does not verge on Kamala Harris, then you have legitimacy conferred by voters on a selection who's not the vice president. And paired with the fact that you would have Barack Obama overseeing the process, we regularly have 2 of the most brilliant pollsters who focus on the Black electorate in America on this show. Mario Boulard is the lead. One point that he makes consistently is that Black voters are very pragmatic. They are very attuned to, hey, we want to go with what works. This is a very smart, very informed electorate. And if they see that the selection of the Democratic Party, in which Black voters have had a strong, if not dominant voice, is not Kamala Harris, I think that we have seen historically that they will get on board with a selection who is not Kamala Harris.